The world had forgotten warmth. Once the gods danced in the skies, their fires painted dawns in gold. Now, even the stars seemed to shiver. Kyle, the last god of fire, walked alone. An endless white desert stretched before him. His golden brown hair whipped behind him in the storm. His eyes, molten gold, glimmered faintly through the snow. Across his left cheek ran a scar, a memory of battles long gone. His armor, cracked and faded, reflected only whispers of light. In his hand burned a tiny flame, fragile, pure, alive. It was all that remained of the eternal fire. Kale cupped it carefully. "Stay with me," he whispered. "You are all that's left." The blizzard roared. The flame trembled, but it refused to die. Kale trudged through the storm for days. Time no longer had meaning. Snow buried mountains and rivers alike. The world was silent. Only the echo of cold remained. Finally, he reached a frozen lake. Beneath the ice, faces lay trapped. God, mortals. Expressions of fear, sorrow, surrender. He knelt beside one, a woman, her silver hair frozen in the ice, her eyes closed in eternal sleep. "Lyria," he whispered, the goddess of wind, once his ally, once his love. For a moment, the wind stilled. Then a soft voice drifted. "Kyle." He lifted his head, and she was there.
"I will go beyond
formed
the
of
ice,
mist and light.
to
Her
the
blue
temple
eyes
of
held both
silence."
winter and memory. "You still carry it," she said. Kale tightened his jaw. "It's all that remains of what we were." "The world sleeps, Kale," she said. "But if you wish to awaken it, you must travel beyond the ice, to the temple of silence. There, something survives, something even the cold cannot claim." Kale looked at the flame. "And if I fail?" Her form began to fade. Then the fire dies, and with it, every name ever spoken. The wind rose, screaming across the frozen mountains. Kyle closed his hand around the flame. His footsteps left glowing traces in the snow. Each step, a spark of hope. For the first time in centuries, the darkness trembled. Days blurred into nights. Time had no meaning in a world that had stopped breathing. Kale crossed valleys of crystal
The temple
and
should
plains
be
of frozen
near.
ash. The flame grew weaker, sometimes shrinking so small he feared to lose it entirely. But when his faith faltered, he remembered Lyria's eyes and walked again. Finally, he reached it, a vast mountain carved with faces of sleeping gods. At its summit stood a colossal temple, doors of black stone, sealed for eternity, the Temple of Silence. He pressed his palm against the gate. It opened without sound. Inside was not darkness, but stillness. Golden dust hung motionless in the air. Statues lined the walls. Once divine beings, now nothing but stone and silence. Kyle walked between them, his footsteps echoing softly. The flame's glow danced across their faces. Each one bore a look of peace, or perhaps defeat. "Why did you abandon it all?" he whispered. "The mortals, the light, the warmth." A whisper replied, though his mouth moved. "We did not abandon it. We became it." Kale froze. The voice came from the statues themselves, hundreds of faint echoes overlapping like the wind. Every god who fell left behind a spark. "We are the dust beneath the flame you hold." The flame in Kale's hand flared suddenly, brighter than before. He felt its weight, its heat. Then why does it still fade? Because the fire cannot exist alone. It needs something to burn, for he lowered his head. "I have nothing left to burn for." "Then find it," the voices whispered, "before you forget who you are." The walls trembled. The statues cracked, releasing faint light that swirled around him. The air became warm, but it was the warmth of farewell. Kyle stood at the heart of the temple, surrounded by fading echoes. "I will carry you," he said quietly, "all of you." The gates opened behind him, leading to a path that descended into light. He took one last look at the silent gods, then stepped forward, and behind him, for the first time in eons, the temple burned with gentle fire. The path led Kyle into a canyon where water still moved, glowing faintly beneath the ice. It wasn't water,
Eli,
but memory.
by the
made
gods,
liquid.
you're not.
He knelt beside it, watching faces drift
Father,
by within the current.
help
They were
me.
people,
Just take my
mortals
hand.
he once blessed,
Please, Eli,
soldiers
take
who
my
prayed
hand.
to him, children who lit fires in his name. Each face looked at him as it passed, whispering words he could no longer remember. Then one face rose above the rest, a boy with golden eyes like his own. Father, Cal's breath caught. Eli, his son. He reached into the current, desperate to touch him, but the river resisted. The water turned to flame, swirling violently around his arm. "You cannot hold a memory," a voice murmured. Lyria's voice carried by the wind. "You can only remember why it mattered." Kyle closed his eyes. He saw the boy again, laughing, chasing sparks in the air, his hands reaching for warmth. He whispered, "You were the last light I failed to protect." The river shimmered, and the boy's image smiled faintly. "No, Father. You are the light that never gave up." The current calmed. The flames softened, flowing around him gently. Cal stood once more, holding the tiny flame close to his chest. He looked up and saw the horizon ahead glowing faintly, as if dawn were trying to return. Cal followed the faint light until the ground turned black. Volcanic rock, cracked and ancient. Above him, the sky blazed with moving stars. Here the cold ended. Here the world burned, but not with heat. The fire was made of memory, illusions of the past replaying endlessly. Kyle saw visions in the smoke. The first sunrise, the first prayer, the birth of gods. He saw Lyria laughing in the wind, Eli running through fields of golden grass. He walked among them like a ghost. Then he found it, a small lamp hovering above the stone. He knew it instantly. It was the same lamp his son once held. He touched it gently, and the lamp flickered to life, burning with clean golden light. The warmth filled him, not of power, but of peace. He whispered, "If the fire dies, the world forgets. But if it burns without love, it destroys." He lifted the lamp, its glow merging with the tiny flame in his hand. The two became one, steady, living, endless. The visions faded. The black stone beneath his feet turned to soil. Tiny shoots of grass began to grow. Cal smiled for the first time in an age. "So this is what remains when we forgive." He began walking again toward the horizon where light awaited. The world was waking. As Cale climbed the final hill, the sky broke open in gold. The ice across the plains melted into rivers, flowing with light. And there, beneath a tree of fire and frost, stood Eli, not as a boy, but as something eternal. Kyle stopped, trembling. "I came to save you," he whispered. Eli smiled gently. "You already did." Kyle fell to his knees, the lamp trembling in his hands. "Then why does the fire still burn?" Eli placed a hand over his father's heart. "Because it remembers. The fire is not life or death, Father. It is love, refusing to fade." The wind grew warm. The snow turned to rain. Lyria's voice echoed softly through the air. "You've walked through the cold, Kyle. You've kept the last flame alive. Now let it rest. Let it become the sun again." Cal looked to the horizon and smiled. He raised the lamp high. Light spilled across the sky, washing the last of the darkness away. The flame rose from his hands, soaring into the heavens, and became the dawn. The world breathed once more. In the silence that followed, a voice whispered across the new wind. "Fire does not end in ashes. It becomes the warmth that guides us home." They say when dawn touches snow, you can still see Cale's footprints glowing faintly beneath the frost. And if you listen carefully in the wind, you may hear a soft voice whisper, "Keep the flame, not because the world needs it, but because you do."